Right. So this course is called Chem 5. It's required for all chemistry majors at UCI. And we get about 100 during the year. And we also teach it in the summer, and it's a little bit less than 50 in the summer. It's in fact 2 courses in one. So there is the math part, the computational part. The objectives are not quite aligned, so it ends up being 2 courses in one. So in order to make this presentation a little bit more clear, I'm only going to tell you about the math part. But the implementation that I did was for both parts, and it's essentially equivalent, right? It's just the content is different, but that part you don't care about the content, just the details of implementation or specifications, right? Anyway, it's a skills-based course, as it says in the name of the course. The idea is for students to learn to solve problems, not to learn math in detail, rigorously, but just to solve problems. And in particular, I have a couple of goals that are perhaps modest, but this is all we can do in a short amount of time. I want the students to learn to use symbolic math to solve chemistry problems. And I want the students to be familiar with the math methods that they're going to use in upper division classes, so that they don't freak out when they get to the physical chemistry class and the instructor mentions some fancy thing, and the students say, well, what is that? I don't know anything about that, right? So in the upper division classes, the students should focus on learning the chemistry because they have seen the math before. So that's the idea. So, well, the elements of the approach that I follow, the course is organized in modules per topic, essentially. And each module has its own set of learning objectives. And each module is assessed in the same way. So what way is that? It's what I call pencil and paper homework assignments on a bi-weekly basis during the 10-week term, right? So this will change during the summer. I haven't tried this in the summer, only during the fall term. Each one of these homework assignments has 3 multi-part problems. And there are essentially then 5 during the 10-week term. There is also an oral presentation. So there are no exams in this class, and there is not a final exam, but I meet with the students on small groups or one-on-one, and they have to account for what they did or didn't do in these homework assignments. Now, so what about the details of learning objectives, right? Which is from which you start to implement this, specification grading schemes, right? So each module has a set of learning objectives, and this is an example, just for illustration purposes. You don't have to, know the details of differential equations, but they are very specific. And then each homework assignment, I tell the students, so this is an example of one of those problems. I tell the students, listen, this particular problem, you remember the list of goals that I gave you? These are the goals covered there, right? So for this particular problem. Now, and you can see this problem has 4 parts, right? So what about the actual grading? Well, the final letter grade will be determined by one of this. Well, you have to do this particular things if you want to get an A, right? So for instance, if students want to get an A in the math part, they have to pass all the problems in the first assignment, and then it's a certain number of problems in the rest of the assignments, and have one of these interviews with me and have non-satisfactory problems. So the key words here are pass and unsatisfactory. So what is that all about? Well, so each part of each problem in the homework is graded in a scale: full credit, partial credit, no credit, each part. Then you combine the stands, and if you have a preponderance of full credit, you pass that problem, and that counts for your final grade. If not, then, well, it's in progress, and if things didn't go well, you get an unsatisfactory. And the idea is, of course, that the things that give you credit for at the end are the pass marks. And so, well, this is again the same problem. So there are details. You are not taking the class right now, so you don't care about these details. The important thing is that a preponderance of full credit marks per part will give you a pass. How do you get full credit in a particular question? Well, there is a very detailed rubric for both the students and the graders. And again, there are a lot of details here. You're not taking the class right now, but what I want to emphasize is that I want the students to get the correct answers. That is what gives you credit. There could be typos. We all make mistakes, but the answer has to be correct, and it has to be fully explained. So this is how I'm trying to teach the students to use symbolic math to express chemistry knowledge, right? And so based upon this thing, this general rubric for each question of each problem, then I give the graders a detailed key, and then they will give the students feedback for each question. Once the students get their final results, if they didn't pass at once, they immediately get a resubmission opportunity. And if they really bomb the exam or the problem, they get a new version of the problem. And if you want to get a new version of the problem, you had to actually have done something before, right? So that's the element of mastery that I'm using. The students are always encouraged before submitting their revisions to talk to us during office hours. And so I'm going to take credit for the PERC terminology that Irene was mentioning before. I just simply, the word talking didn't work for me. So I just say, hey, let's call it PERC. And also because I wasn't implementing the talking system very well at this point. So, and as we heard before from Renee, well, we have to give people chances, right? And so if they wanted more than one chance to resubmit, they should talk to me. All right. So what worked? Well, what didn't work very well? Well, trying to fit all of these things into Canvas was hard, and our host Bo Choi was very helpful with that. There were several challenges. Details. I don't have time to tell you all the sad stories about it. Again, as I mentioned just a moment, the token system is still in the works. Not every student understood the impact of missing a pass mark in one problem. Only two of 80, okay? But it still haunts me. So the next time, the goal is to have every student understand the system very well. Get your grade from the math part, get your grade from the computing part, combine it, that's how you get your final grade. And so how did it go? I want you to focus here on only two things, the green and the magenta, because the other ones are during the pandemic. So let's just think about in-person classes, more or less normal. The green one is before specifications grading. The magenta is after specifications grading. So I'm going to call that a success, if you allow me. Now, let me tell you about this thing, right? So, well, I mean, it's a success, but not for everybody, right? For 50% of the class or whatever, right? So what was this thing? Well, it's a phenomenon that happened the first time we came back in person for some reason. A lot of students decided to abandon the class and didn't drop. And so we ended up with all of these Fs. I actually talked to some of them, not to all of them. And there are all kinds of circumstances, right? Why people decide to take the F even though they stop coming to class. Anyway, so I didn't get any big complaints about anything. So I'm going to call that, people are satisfied. Some people actually commented positive things. And as I said, there were very few people that didn't understand the impact of missing a pass, and then they were complaining about it. But it always happens, I guess. And it did most definitely increase the engagement for everybody inside and outside the classroom. Anyway, so that's all I have for you. I didn't do this all by myself. My two TAs, Marcus Marachi and Praveen Pravakar, where they took it's one of those things. I wanted to do this thing for the first time, right? And I got these two guys that I said, listen, this is what I want to do. Can you discuss it amongst yourself and then come up with a plan and show it to me? And they were just awesome. I mean, I didn't have to do much. They just came in and did all the legwork. I had a wonderful peer coach, Steve Mang, and if you like any of those ideas, actually just copy them all from Steve. And as I mentioned before, always with the support of Bo Choi for all the technical matters with Canvas and the like. And I have to acknowledge, right, the constant source of inspiration for this specifications grading thing is Renee Lenk. And we have all wonderful facilitators and trainers during the last summer. I think Will and Kate are in the audience right now. And then I had to also acknowledge, Bo and Megan that you met before are part of this at UCI, a great team that has particularly been of crucial for the teaching at UCI during the pandemic. All right, that's all I got for you. So looking forward for your questions afterwards.